swing and a drive. Right field and deep. That goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
Fly the W!
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawley-Jean.
It is the Fly the W podcast. It's episode 344. Horton, here's a homer. You're listening to the Fly the W podcast. Of course, we are part of the Blue Wire Network. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe. Most importantly, review this very podcast and follow on all the socials. You can check me out at Mully and Haw on X.
And you can follow me at Crawley's Cubs on X, Blue Sky, and TikTok. Crawley's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. And you can email us at crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com. And I got to tell you, Dustin, after that long winter of no baseball, it's been a lot of fun having spring training and WBC. I just can't get enough.
Yeah, there's a lot. There is a lot happening, a lot for us to get to. We feel like we just did a podcast, but a lot has happened since we last spoke.
Yeah, and obviously the title of this episode, Horton Here's a Homer, just a little tongue-in-cheek after the Cubs lost 8-3 to the Rangers on Tuesday. This was the lineup that the skipper, Craig Counsell, threw out there. And Dustin, if you look closely, you could see Matt Shaw playing center field, one of many positions that he was playing, and also Moises Ballesteros catching. And so to me, it's kind of interesting to when you look at some of these lineups, Scott Kingery, he's going to be, you assume, on your bench as an infielder and play all the positions. And so kind of good to see it. But it was a tough day at Surprise Stadium for young Cade Horton, facing a tough Texas lineup that won the World Series a few years ago. They still got a lot of thumpers in that lineup, Dustin. I think people kind of forget that, but he had trouble with the long ball. The Rangers jumped all over him early. A single, a double, and a 3-run home run by Corey Seager made it 3-0 after only 3 batters. First batter he faces in the second. Josh Smith takes him deep to make it 4-0. Cade pitched a clean inning in the clean third, but after getting the first 2 out in the fourth, he gave up a single and then another home run. This one to Ezekiel Duran to extend the Rangers' lead to 6-0. After walking the next batter, his day was done. 3 2/3 innings, gave up 6 runs on 6 hits, 2 walks, 2 Ks, and 3 home runs. Now, you're not, I would say not to freak out about it, and we'll hear a little bit from Cade. But, I think what makes it worse, Dustin, is that we have no way of watching what's going on, so we can't even see with our own eyes what's happening. So if you're just looking at the box score.
That does stink. Right, that does stink. And the box score stinks. I think it's all about what you have to do is it seems following it. It's been like one clunker followed by a good outing. And it seems like that for all the Cubs pitchers. Nobody's really had 2 clunkers in a row. Nobody's had 2 good outings in a row. It's kind of been good outing, clunker, good outing, clunker, good outing, clunker.
Yeah, I think the only person that really doesn't fit that would be Edward Cabrera, who gave up 1 run today. So,
correct. Good point. Good point.
He's looked very, very solid. The offense in that game didn't do much. They scored 3 runs on 8 hits, but 5 of those hits came off the bats of either Kevin Alcantara and Michael Conforto. Alcantara had his best day of the spring, going 3 for 4. Conforto was 2 for 3, and Matt Shaw hit his first spring training home run. But the talk everyone had afterwards had to do with Mr. Cade Horton. I know that there was, obviously he knew that the media was going to be ready to ask him some questions. And so, it's interesting to me. He has a very mature aura to him. And so here's how he kind of described the outing.
What were you working on today?
I wouldn't say I think I was just more, just focusing on landing my breaking stuff. I think I was working on my tempo, timing, delivery, all of that. Felt really good. Felt like I executed a lot of pitches. That's the best my slider and curveball have felt. Obviously, the result is what it is, but I felt like I got good work in today. I think, last year I would have gotten really worked up about this, but this year I feel like, I'm really just focused on the process. It really is all about getting ready for opening day. Like, I can take a lot of good out of what I did today. Obviously the results were pretty bad, but like it is what it is. So just get ready for the next one. Like I said, I think the results can lie to you sometimes. Like I think that first inning is a great example of that. Like probably the first 2 balls hit weren't over 80. But you look at the score sheet, you're like, oh, he gave up 2 hits and then gave up a 3-run shot. Well, it's not really like that. Like I made 2 really good pitches and they just dunked in, and then, one swing later and you're behind. And so that's where it's like focus on the process. You're like, all right, I made good pitches. Like that builds confidence to move on.
Like I said, mature response right there. And yeah, when you look at the box score, it didn't look good, but he talked about that bottom of the first and he was almost right. Brandon Nimmo hit a single that was 82 miles per hour. And then Wyatt Langford hit a double that was 69 miles per hour. It only went 172 feet. So it wasn't like they were crushing them. It's just sometimes you catch bed breaks, and then it's not like Corey Seager. It's not like he's giving it up to some single A kid there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's an awfully good player.
Yeah, he's one of the best in baseball, and so that happens. And what I liked about him was just the talk about the process, and he was working on things. If you go back and you take a look pitch for pitch, you could see him working a lot on the breaking stuff. So sooner or later, those guys are going to be sitting on it, right? And so that
they're not fools. They can kind of figure it out, right?
Right. It doesn't take long to figure out on that. But I also like what he had to say about his health. And it really is something I think Cub fans need to really kind of think about.
I think I'm in a way better spot than I have been in previous years because of it. Just being able to, go through a full off season healthy, and now full spring training healthy. Like I feel like my mechanics and shapes and all of that stuff is in mid-season form.
That is something that Cade has had to deal with. He's had some injury issues. And so the fact that he's had this off season, he's had spring training and everything feels good, that I think is something that's really important and is going to be key for Cade Horton is that we see what the stuff is. It's just a question of, can he stay healthy? That to me is really that next hurdle. Can he make all the starts? Can he make 27 starts or something like that? That's the big thing right now.
Yeah. Very good point, Crowley. Very good point.
There's one other thing that he mentioned that I thought was worth bringing up, and that was Moises Ballesteros and how he is as a catcher.
Moises obviously has been getting a lot more time behind the plate. Just what have you seen from him from the last couple of years as he's gained that experience?
Yeah, Bally caught me in Myrtle, and so I've had him all the way through. And yeah, I think he just continues to get better back there. I think his pitch calling and just his receiving has gotten so good. So yeah, I mean he's a great hitter, and so I think what he does so well is he separates the two sides of the ball.
So Dustin, you have Christian Bethancourt, who would be your backup, your AAA catcher. He was with Panama, as was Miguel Amaya. Okay. And so it gave you opportunity to let Ballesteros catch. And I feel like everybody's just like, no, he can't catch. I mean, it didn't sound like Horton had a problem with him. I don't know.
Well, listen, I don't think these guys are ever going to throw a teammate under the bus. I mean, in a pinch, but I don't think he's better than your first 2 options, right? But he's nice to have around he's nice to have around as a third guy, but I don't think I'd be putting him back there once a week. Maybe you'd put him in there in a game when you're up 6 or 7 runs and it's the 8th or 9th inning and you're feeling okay about things, just to give him a couple of reps working with a guy. That might not be a bad idea.
To me, I feel like I think people have written it off real quick. That's all I'm saying is I'm not saying he's going to be Yadier Molina or anything like that. I'm just saying that I'm very curious to see how the bat plays, and I'm curious to see how he's a hard worker. I want to see what he does with catching. That's just my own opinion, but we'll see what happens. Now the Cubs would then take on the Rangers of Texas. And so when the Cubs took on the Rangers, that was a fun one right there. after that one. So they lost that one 8-3 with Cade Horton. But the next game against the Royals was kind of a wild one. That was the one that the Cubs won 9-8. And once again, you take a look at the lineup that Craig throws out there, and you get a little bit of a chuckle, because now against the Royals, here's Matt Shaw. He's playing first base. So the day before, center field. The next day, first base. So you had a pretty good lineup. I mean, this looks solid, looking at it right here. And you were the Cubs were down 1-0 when they put up a 5 spot in the second. Pedro Ramirez, the guy I've been talking about all spring, Dustin, he hit his second home run of the spring, a grand slam. And then Nico made it back-to-back jacks with a solo home run. It gave me flashbacks to Miggy Montero and Dexter Fowler, Game 1 NLCS 2016, the back-to-back, the grand slam, and the solo home run. But I've been talking about Pedro all spring, Dustin. He is slashing 364, 429, 682. He's 8 for 22 with a double, 2 home runs, and 10 RBIs. I feel like he's just been really, really impressive, and I'm very interested to see how he progresses in the minors. But between Pedro and when you talk about Jefferson Rojas and you talk about Matt Shaw, it feels like the Cubs just have a lot of depth in the infield. And so hopefully that will all kind of come out, and we'll see what happens. But just like Cade Horton the day before, Colin Ray had his struggles. He gave up 5 runs in 4 innings, 4 of them earned. And just like Cade, he gave up 3 home runs, 1 in the second, 2 in the third, and 3 triples as well. So, it doesn't seem like people get as nervous if Colin Ray does it than if does it.
Well,
But
it's a little
Dustin,
bit different, right? It's a little
Yeah.
bit different. Colin Ray and Cade Horton, you're not expecting. But my trouble is, okay, so the Cubs pitchers are giving up multi-home run games, it seems like, all week. But the Cubs are not hitting multi-home runs all week. So, sometimes you want to say, oh, those are Arizona home runs. Well, wouldn't it be nice if the Cubs bats were having some of those Arizona home runs, if you will?
You get there. I'm not too worried. And the Cubs have a lot of guys that are not in camp, guys that would be hitting home runs, guys that would lengthen the lineup. So,
No, for sure.
Nico
for
Horner, Nico Horner is not going to hit home runs. I mean, Jefferson Rojas and Pedro Ramirez have had a lot of playing time. They're not as much. I guess I'm just not too worried about it just yet. I know other teams are doing it, but But the fun thing about this game, Dustin, is that the teams fought back and forth. The Royals were up 8-7 in the 9th inning. Justin Dean, bottom of the 9th, hits a leadoff double. He advances to third on a ground out by Brett Bateman and scored on a single by Scott Kingery to tie the game. So now the winning run is at first base. The next batter is prospect Matt Halbach. I actually met him when I was in Mesa. He comes up to the plate. He's down 1-2. He fouls off the next 4 pitches and then was called out on a ball 4 inches below the zone for the second out. But wait, Halbach challenges the call. It's easily overturned to make it a 2-2 count, and then hits a walk-off double to end the game. Dustin, if you're watching on YouTube, we do have the video, and I don't know, you and I talked about this before, like, is there not someone that there's a camera? And I keep noticing highlights on MLB, so someone's shooting this stuff somewhere. We just don't get it. But here's what happens here with Halbach. So if you heard that there, you heard the awe because the call was so bad. Then you hear the cheering when the call's reversed, and then he walks it off. I mean, fly the W, but that to me, how cool was that it was a challenge call and then he gets the walk-off on that? Would have been in any other game, he would have been out, and that would have been 2 outs. And instead he gets new life and he hits the double to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's going to be interesting to see this in more of a full-time role this year, right? This is going to be the first time we're going to have it much more available, and it's going to be interesting to see is how is Counsell going to handle this? Is he going to say it's only the catcher, or only me, or only the pitcher? I think he's going to pick a lane. I don't think he wants everybody to just arbitrarily be like, oh.
No, that's not going to happen. And so I'm really kind of, like you said, who gets to make the calls? I think, people kind of joke because they say pitchers think everything's a strike. So it's probably going to be more on the catchers. And I don't know if you saw this. Milwaukee's always trying these little things to get away with. You know what I mean? They had like a screen in their dugout in Arizona, and they had a green or red light to indicate if you could challenge it or not challenge it. So if you saw the red on the screen, you couldn't challenge it. If you saw green on the screen, if you looked in the dugout, you could, but MLB nixed that right away. But it's always the Brewers trying that little sneaky stuff. You know what I mean? They're what do they say? If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Yeah, ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. But this was the lineup today, Dustin. Bush leading off. We saw that plenty. Horner, Happ, Swanson, Kelly, Carlson, McCormick, Murray, and Rojas. To me, I've been watching this Dylan Carlson versus Chad McCormick. I really feel like Dylan Carlson has outplayed McCormick. I really, truly believe that. We're going to talk about roster cuts. Justin Dean's out of the running. I think the fourth outfielder is going to be Dylan Carlson. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind on that. But as interesting as that lineup was, take a look at the Mariners lineup. You got two familiar old friends in there. Brennan Davis hitting third and Patrick Wisdom hitting fifth. A little P-Wiz for you, right? Brennan Davis, if you haven't been watching, he's 11 for 29 with 4 doubles, 4 home runs, 6 RBIs, 4 walks, 10 strikeouts. He's slashing 379, 471, 931 coming into this game. Now, you were talking about the ABS. He had a 10-pitch at bat today against Edward Cabrera, and he thought he got ball 4, and Carson Kelly challenged it, and it just clipped the corner. And so great one. Again, those are catchers, man. You let them do it. And then Patrick Wisdom is having a Patrick Wisdom type spring, 8 for 26, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, 0 walks, 13 strikeouts.
You're so right about that. That is so Patrick Wisdom, Crawley.
Slashing
Patrick Wisdom.
Slashing 308, but then slugging 577. So, I mean, I will tell you, and I put this on Twitter, I interviewed both those guys for this podcast, and I love both those guys, and I wish them nothing but success except against the Cubs. But I would say more than anything, it's been fun. But Dustin, when we take a look and we talk about the multi-positions going on with Matt Shaw, that's the thing that people are wondering. How can he keep that up? And how, he had to use a first base glove. It was Carson Kelly's first base glove that he had to use. And so he was asked on what it was like this spring to play all these positions.
Base was good. Yeah. I mean, again, like there's small nuances that I'm learning. But overall, I feel like, I covered all the basics pretty well. Small things that I'm learning. Obviously, it's day one ever first, but overall, I feel really, really good. I mean, just communication with Nico at second, knowing where he's playing, knowing kind of how far I can range or should range. There's 2 balls today that I kind of ranged a step and then got back to first. So we were laughing about it because 2 tweeners. But, I mean, 2 balls already, like tough balls, but, they were pretty routine for both of us. So that was good. I mean, there's a couple nuances. Balls off the bat almost feel like exactly the same. Obviously, I don't have to range as much to my right because Nico will be there, and then I will have a lot more time at first. So, that ball today, I probably could have taken it back just knowing I have more time. But again, still trying to make the right read and not necessarily change too much, but know if there's kind of an in-between ball, I probably have more time. Yeah, someone else's love for sure. I've taken a couple, maybe three days or so over at first of early work. But overall, I feel pretty comfortable there, getting to the bag, stuff like that. I have a little more time. I think it's going to be the big thing. The angles are just kind of the opposite of third, but kind of the same in that sense. So as far as ball off the bat, I feel good. Kind of feels a little bit like Little League again, playing a bunch of different positions and moving around. I've really enjoyed it. The outfield's a lot of fun, running around catching fly balls. First is great, picking balls and kind of more action, being involved in all the plays. Second base, played a lot growing up, so that kind of feels a little bit like home. The only position I really haven't played much is third, which is kind of funny.
He was a Gold Glove finalist, and he really hasn't played a lot of third. But Dustin, I love his attitude and I love his work ethic. And, I was listening to the Mully and Haw show this morning, and that idea that I think I heard David say, no, I don't want to see him at first. I do. I actually want to see him. I'd like to see the game so I can see with my own eyes what it looks like. But he's going to learn. Would I want him there in a tie game in the 9th inning? No. But you're trying to find him at bats, and I just think that he will work. If you give him an opportunity, he will work. And the only way he's going to learn, and Craig Counsell talked about it with the media the other day, is by getting game reps. That's it. And there are going to be mistakes, and you're going to have to deal with them. But in general, if you want that bat, and that bat's been pretty impressive, that's what you're going to have to live with. There's going to be a little bit of a trade-off. There's going to be a little bit of a drop-off on the defense, but give him some time, see what develops.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I just think there's other positions that he can play where you can avoid mistakes with him. I mean, I'm fine with it in spring training, but I would think the Cubs would have to be in quite the pickle to have him playing first base in a real game.
Well, I mean, obviously when Tyler Austin went down, that was the plan. There was no plans to give Matt Shaw first base. And now that he's out, I mean, that's really it's an opportunity is the way that you have to look at it if you're Matt Shaw.
Yeah, opportunity's knocking, and he's trying to take advantage of it. That no doubt about that.
And again, I hope people just kind of give him a little bit of rope. That's all I'm saying. And so just kind of updating, because as we're going live here, the game is going on. Edward Cabrera pitched 3.2 thirds innings, gave up 4 hits, 1 run, 3 Ks. No walks, and that's what I love about him. He just puts that ball in there.
Yeah, he fires the ball, no doubt.
Go ahead
and
try
the ball.
it.
He attacks the strike zone and says, "Come on, come at me."
And again, to me, he's just an impressive, different than what we've seen the last few years. Ian Happ had a 2-run double, which was good to see, and then just recently the Cubs scored another run on a sac fly. Nico Horner hit the sac fly. So Jefferson Rojas was able to score. So the Cubs are up 3-1. And again, you're starting to get to the point where you had Phil Matten came in and he pitched. He did walk a couple guys, but he got out of the inning. But now you're getting to the point where the guys you don't know are starting to come in. So hopefully the Cubs win. If not, though, the regulars were doing well before they all got pulled.
Are we burying the lead here, Crawley? Are we burying the lead of episode 344, Horton Hears a Homer? Huh? Are we burying the lead? Are we going to get to the lead story here, Crawley? Come on,
Here we go. We found out from your guy, John Heyman, that Matt Boyd is back in camp. The reason he is not moving on in the WBC is that there wouldn't be enough innings as a Team USA reliever. And so what you end up happening is now, because of they're in the quarterfinals, right? There's 3 games left. Paul Skeens is going to start 1. So if you want Boyd to get innings, he has to work his innings up, right? That was the thing that Cade talked about the other day. He had 60 pitches, I mean. So you have to get that buildup, and he wouldn't get that buildup. So that's why he's going back to Mesa. And once we found that out, Dustin, the news broke. He will be, Matthew Boyd, your 2026 opening day starter. That was what I was thinking all along, and I feel like he earned it. He's a veteran. He had a great year. There's no reason he wouldn't get it, in my opinion, Dustin.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with the choice. No problem at all. Yeah, I'm fine with that choice.
A couple roster cuts. These cuts tended to be a little bit more interesting than the earlier ones because you have guys like Justin Dean, who is going to AAA. A left-handed reliever, Ryan Rollison. It looked like, I think that Craig Counsell kind of was very curious with that guy. I think he might get a look pretty early. And Luke Little, all option to AAA Iowa. Some of the catchers, Ariel Armas and Casey Opitz, are going down. You are going to get Amaya, and you are going to get Bethancourt back. Outfielder Brett Bateman and right-handed pitcher Vince Velasquez have returned to minor league camp, so we don't know where those guys are going to start. And then Dustin, this morning, I thought about you when I saw this right away. It was your buddy, Andre Dawson,
Interesting story here, Crowley.
the Hawk. And so Dawson, if you take a look, that's him when he made it into the Hall of Fame, and that was his plaque. And we actually had him on the Fly the W podcast. And when we talked to him, he talked about that plaque and how it bothered him. So Dawson was inducted in 2010. And at that point in time, the final decision was made by baseball. It didn't take his input in it. Well, they took his input, but they chose to put a Montreal Expo hat on that plaque. And Dustin, I mean, I understand what MLB was doing. His first 11 seasons, he was a rookie of the year. I mean, he just had monster numbers in Montreal, right? And so, but that's not what Dawson wanted. And he thought about this for a while. And he said, he wanted to be able to change it. And so the Hall of Fame, they've been going up at this since like 2023, when Dawson originally reached out to Hall of Fame to see if they would change his plaque. And the idea then all of a sudden was agreed upon today or yesterday that he would go in with a blank cap. So that option wasn't available when Dawson was put into the Hall of Fame to ask.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure I like the blank cap, though. I'm not sure I like that. Like,
so he's not the only one. Maddox has that too.
No, I know. I know he's not the only one. I'm just saying I don't know that I think that's a great thing.
I guess, it's hard when you're looking at the players and what the players want versus, taking your heart out of it. Again, where was Greg Maddox's best seasons? Atlanta, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he loved playing for the Cubs. That's where he broke in. He loved the city of Chicago. He came back in 2004. So again, this really bothered Andre. It's what he wanted the Cubs on there. Would you have preferred that the player be allowed to pick and just say, okay, we'll put a Cubs on that hat?
Yeah, I think the players should be allowed to pick. Yes, I do.
Are you okay with Maddox having the blank one?
No, I don't like the blank at all.
Okay, you don't like the blank because that was Maddox's. Maddox decided to go that route with that. One more little note here, Dustin, and we'll we have a couple other guests that are going to be coming on later, so make sure you tune into this when it drops. But Apple TV is they put out their first half games. And if you take a look right here, this is Jeff Agris. He's been on our podcast numerous times. April 24th against the Dodgers, May 22nd against the Astros, and June 26th at the Brewers. They are going to be all Apple TV. And I had a lot of people complaining today, but I'll tell you, Dustin, you know me. I have Apple TV. I like Apple TV. I love the picture. And I love the fact that you can listen to the Pat and Ron radio simulcast through your TV. So we'll make sure to remind our listeners at the time that is an option so that they can enjoy the sounds of Pat and Ron.
Yeah, good call, Crawley. Good call indeed. Great picture, not a great broadcast on Apple TV, but of course, Pat and Ron, 104.3 on that free Odyssey app, of course. This is the Fly the W podcast, part of the Blue Wire Network. It's episode 344. Horton Here's a Homer. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. 5-star review. We'll take it. Email us. That's right. Crawley's Clubhouse, gmail.com. You can watch us on the Crawley Clubhouse YouTube page. And in this segment, Crawley's talking to Bradley Woodrum, baseball prospectus, to recap pool play in the World Baseball Classic and preview the quarterfinals that are coming up. You're listening to the Fly the W podcast. Don't forget to review, subscribe, 5-star review, email Crawley's Clubhouse, gmail.com. Watch us. That's right. On the Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube page. And of course, we are part of the Blue Wire Network. We thank them for helping us out. And it's time to preview the Cubs NL Central opponents. So we're going to start by taking a look at the Pirates. Noah Hiles of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette talks about the Buccos offseason moves and what the team has looked like so far in spring training.
Well, Dustin, it looks like we're going to have an exciting weekend of Cubs baseball. They are going to take on the White Sox on Friday. That game will not be broadcast on TV or the radio.
Well, CHSN, if you're willing to have the Sox broadcast.
Yeah. But I guess I can take that. But the trouble for a lot of Comcast viewers is they don't have either if they didn't go to the higher tier. So that's something to keep in mind. But yep, you could get it on there. But as far as Saturday, it will be on 104.3 The Score. Now, yes, Dustin, indeed. I don't know if you can confirm
Zach and Coombe on that call.
Zach and Coombe. And also, you know that we love Inside the Clubhouse, our guy, Bruce Levine. And so that is only going to be on 104.3, correct?
Saturday. Yes. Saturday will only be on 104.3. Yep.
Right. So just be aware of that if you're turning in for a little baseball. Bruce always has great guests. And then Sunday versus the Dodgers, marquee and Score. So you got the doubleheader on that one. So a weekend of exciting baseball, the quarterfinals of WBC. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, Crawley. I cannot wait. It's going to be a great weekend of sports. That's a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to us, the Fly the W podcast. Email us your thoughts, Crawley's Clubhouse, gmail.com, and watch us, as you may be right now, by subscribing to the Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube channel. Crawley, enjoy the games. We'll be back on Monday with a full recap for everybody.
Team USA, you got new life. You better use it. And Cubs, just beat the White Sox because that's what I always like to see. Go Cubs.
It's all over.